Hello, welcome to my channel. I am that NEMT girl, and today I will be touching on another topic that is very, very dear to heart. We will be talking on how to pick a driver. In my last video, I touched on a little bit in terms of when I knew it was time for me to hire. So I want to share some tips with you on how I go about that process, and maybe it'll help you along your journey on bringing people on for your company. So let's go. So when picking a driver, there are some things that you want to consider before you just jump right into it. The main thing that you want to look for and consider are your driver's backgrounds. What are their experience? What are you looking for? What is the motto or the harmony that you want to keep within the team? Some of the background experience that I go for in terms of picking a driver would be an Uber driver, a Lyft driver. These drivers, they have experience on the road with transportation in terms of routing and in terms of using an app software. So if your company does have a transportation software in which you use for your dispatching or your dispatchers, then you would definitely want to make sure you consider an Uber or Lyft driver because they have experience in handling these things. You also want to consider bus drivers because these workers, they have experience with multi-loading clients. Depending on the clientele that you serve, they can service students. They service students with disabilities. So these are also great drivers for you to consider to be a part of your company. Think about customer service workers as well. Someone who may have worked in a call center that may have a lot of retail experience because these people, they actually care. They know what it means to deliver good customer service and how to hit the benchmarks because that's what their background is in, right? So you want to consider those applicants as well. You may also from time to time have applicants who are former EMT workers and they want to get back in the field, but maybe not so much into the EMT field, but more so in EMT. So those are definitely your top applicants that you want to go after because they have experience across the board with dealing with all kinds of clients in terms of ambulatory, wheelchair, and stretcher. Now, I will say one of the best things that I have done in terms of growing the business and when we first started bringing people on was to really focus on senior citizens and retirees because these applicants, they are more so just wanting to get out the house and really care about the job. They really want to give back to the community. And that's something in this industry that you really need. You can't just have someone behind the wheel of your vehicles just driving recklessly, picking people up recklessly. You want to make sure that you're bringing on the right people that can really build a great heart for your team. So with the senior citizens who are still very much so able-bodied, they have their own vehicles, they can drive, they can maintain themselves. Those are definitely some good applicants to consider as well. Another thing to point out in terms of hiring seniors and retirees is that you have a higher retention rate with that group of applicants simply because this industry is a high turnover industry. I'm just going to be very frank with you. It's no way to sugarcoat it. You can ask many providers. They definitely go through problems with retaining good drivers and bringing people on that really care. So when you get someone that really does the job well and is able to communicate with your clients, communicate with you, communicate with your staff, and they do exceptionally well, you really want to hold on to them. It's really important to retain good drivers because it keeps the day-to-day operations flowing smoothly and it keeps the cash flow for the business coming in without any interruptions. In my experience, I will say I'm not against anyone who is of the qualifications that I require for my company. However, I will say in my experience, applicants who may have a background of being in school at the time or who may have other jobs at the time are not really a good fit for my company because they have a lot of things going on with their schedule and they're not as flexible for what the needs of my company are. So those are things to consider as well. Now, depending on the hours of your company, depending on the clients that you serve, depending on the location that you're in, that definitely may be, great for you at this time. So that's also something to consider in terms of other things that applicants may have going on at the time of applying for the position that you have available. Because depending on what their schedule is and their availability, it may not coincide with what your business needs are. So you may be wondering, well, where are you finding these people, right? Well, I will say it has taken me some time to learn the tricks of how the algorithms work with the different job posting sites because each one is different. You have Facebook Jobs, you have Indeed, you have Monster, you have Craigslist, you have Instagram Jobs, you have InstaWork. So those are just a few sites that you can go on and post your job postings to. However, I will say for me, my most successful site has been Indeed because it allows me to be more specific in terms of the keywords what I'm looking for when I post the job ads, and it does a really, really good job of weeding out applicants who do not qualify for what I'm looking for. Also, a lot of people complain to me in terms of the cost that Indeed has. Well, it does have a good cost associated with it, but that also boosts your job ad up higher. However, I definitely understand that. Try using the free route. Use the free job posting option and just try to narrow down your keywords to be very specific, because that's what I do. I don't pay for the subscription. So just narrow down the keywords so that it can weed out the applicant. That's very important to know. You don't want your post to be too wordy, but you definitely want to make sure you hit the key points in terms of what you're looking for the position, how much you're paying, and also where you're located, things of that sort. The background that you're looking for and the qualifications that they need to even be considered. When posting the job ad, it's always good to make sure you include how much are you paying, okay? Because it's 2022, let's be honest, everyone wants to know before they sign up for something, how much is this job paying? So how do you determine that, right? Well, for me, I definitely want to watch the market. You want to make sure you're paying a fair rate that you're going to have drivers want to stay with you, and also giving some incentives, and we're going to talk about that in a second. You don't want to sell yourself short, so you want to make sure the company is still being profitable, but that your team is also being well taken care of as well, because without your team, you have no company. So one suggestion would be to go online, go to Google, type it in, and look up other companies that are within your industry that are nearby you, and see, what they are paying. You can call them, cold call, whatever, and see what they're paying per hour for their drivers. You can also see how they're paying their drivers, if they're paying their drivers hourly or per trip. Some companies do per trip, some companies do commission-based, some companies do hourly. I would say what works best for me is to do hourly pay. We've been doing hourly pay since we pretty much started. We did start off doing per trip and commission based, and it just didn't work out in terms of retention for us. So we switched it to hourly, and hourly has been just the thing that works for us. So we haven't strayed away from it. However, depending on where you are in your business journey, paying per trip or paying commission based may be best for you. I'm not sure, but do your research to see what other companies are paying within your area. You can also look online in other areas that may be nearby states that you can see what are they paying their drivers, and call those companies up and say, hey, be transparent. Let them know you're another provider. And most providers within this industry, I will say, they're really helpful in terms of passing along information. So reach out to them. Now, after you reach out to them, they may be paying a fair rate, they may be paying lower than what you ever thought about, and they may be paying a little bit higher than what you can afford. But you want to make sure you're kind of in the middle and still being fair, because you need people to apply for your company. Without drivers, you have no company. You have no business. Now, the next step in determining how you're going to pick your driver are the requirements that you're going to make sure they have to come on with your company. So the requirements that I have for my drivers are listed here. I'm going to go open my book because I forget sometimes. So my requirements are they have to be 25 years or older. The reason for this is because of insurance rates. Most insurance companies definitely have higher rates for drivers under 25. So for me, making sure that we stay within the company budget is to ensure that our drivers are 25 years or older for our insurance. Now, the next thing is you want to make sure they have a clean driving record. Nothing with reckless driving, DUIs, high speed, negligence. You definitely don't want to bring someone on that has those things on their driving record, because this also can add to the increase of the insurance rate for your company when it comes time to add them to your company insurance. So that's something to consider as well. Aside from the insurance purposes, if you're going after broker accounts for contracts, almost all broker accounts require that your drivers have a clean driving record. So that's a requirement that you're going to have to make sure is in place, even for you to be onboarded with a contract from a broker. Even with private pay, where you're able to negotiate your own rules and regulations within your contract a little more closely, that still is important to have a driver with a clean driving record, because it makes your company's reputation look better. The clients feel better with driving and riding with someone they know has a clean driving record, and it helps to maintain the safety and integrity of your company. So it's very important that that's a requirement for your job posting ad. The next thing that I require in terms of the job post ad is that they must be in great physical condition to do the job. When it comes to wheeling in a wheelchair client, or when it comes to onboarding a stretcher client, you have to have the physical strength to do the job. So that's important in terms of which position they're hiring for. Are they hiring for a position that I have available at that time that requires them to do wheelchair and stretcher? And if so, can they physically do the job? Do they meet those requirements? If they tell me that, they've had a back surgery or a back injury, or, they had a leg injury or something that they're getting over in terms of that sort, it's not really a good fit for me, because that's the liability in terms of you onboarding a client within a wheelchair or a stretcher into our vehicle and you fall yourself, so that's not a good look for us. So that's something to consider as well. Now, of course, I touched on background experience in terms of what you should be looking for. Customer service is definitely very heavy. Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, retirees, senior citizens who are still able-bodied and able to do for themselves and want to work. The next thing is that you want to make sure they have a clean criminal background. You can do this by two ways depending on how your states are set up. But you can have your drivers go obtain their own background check from their local police department. That's one way. It's not a national search, but it is a local search to get them onboarded. Now, within the first 30 days, you can go ahead and the company itself can pay for the national background search. And with this, you'll get all of the information that you need in terms of anything that was missed from the local background check. At that time, you can have a clause within the contract that they sign upon onboarding that says, hey, if anything comes back, once we do your national background check within the first 30 days, then we will have to let you go. So for me, what works for us at this time is having the applicant to go get their own background check from the local police department. I'd like to now discuss the pros of picking the right driver and the cons of picking the wrong driver. So we'll start with the good first. The pros of picking the right driver are that you'll have clients coming back, you'll have client retention, and they'll be able to promote your business via word of mouth. I know there's a lot of digital marketing going on, and we're in this new age, of course, and everything's growing day by day. However, word of mouth is still the most legit way to market the business. What other way would it be for one wheelchair client to talk to another wheelchair client and just talk about this great experience they received with the company that happens to be yours? Our drivers drive our business. They are the reason that we have a business. So they keep the cash flow going. They keep client retention up. They're responsible for your company's reputation. They're responsible for your vehicles. So it's very important that you pick the right driver. Now, when you don't pick the right driver, you can face some hardship. Some of that hardship could be vehicle damage. If you're not monitoring their background in terms of their driving record, then they may have a history of accidents. They may have a history of excessive speeding. They may have a history of DUIs. You don't know if you're not paying attention to things like that, and that can cost you in the long run. You're wasting your time, you're wasting your money. You have to train these people. Depending on how you have your operation set up, I'm pretty sure you're paying them for training too. Why are you not picking the right people? You have to take that time. Trust me, I was in a rush to get these people on the road and get these clients picked up, and I realized I was hurting the company versus helping the company. It was very important for me to slow down and take that time to see, hey, what do I need to bring on the right people? And I think we got the formula right, because right now our team is doing amazing. Now, if you do pick the wrong driver and say, for instance, they don't stay on board, they're always calling out, things of that sort, then it's going to cost you money, because who's going to pick these clients up? Now you have the other drivers on your team, their schedules are overlapping, their routes are overlapping, and it's not fair to them. They're burnt out. They're staying on longer than what they're supposed to behind the road. That's not healthy, number one. And number two, that's not good for the team. You want to make sure you keep your drivers. So if you're burning them out and sending them all around the world all day, they may not stay with you for too much longer. You got the pros, you got the cons. It's very important to pick the right driver. It might be hard, but once you get it, you'll just keep going with it and keep going with it, and you'll be able to grow from there. Now, some of the ways to retain the drivers. You have these drivers that are doing a great job. They're helping you grow your business. They're killing it with the clients. You want to keep them on. You need to give them some incentives. So some ideas for incentives could be gift cards, gas cards, the gift cards to restaurants, Visa gift card. You can give them a paid day off. After a certain time frame of them being on with your company, they should be getting a raise. And it should be documented and notated when they're going to get a raise, which benchmark levels they must hit in order to get that raise. And it should be marked pretty frequently. And those check-ins should be happening. And they should know that they're being appreciated and being taken care of. Doesn't matter how big or how small your company is. I promise you, they appreciate those things. And they'll stick with you for that and continue to help you grow your business. Another incentive that is absolutely free is simply checking in with them to see what their ideas are on how the business can be better. and allowing them to see that their ideas are actually being implemented. They could say something as simple as, hey, I think we should get a higher step stool, right? Or, hey, I think we need to get a new car freshener scent. Whatever. It could be something that small that really allows them to see, oh, they're listening to me. My opinion matters, because that allows people to feel like they have a place in your company, which they do. They run your business. Your drivers run your business. Without them, you have no business. So take care of them. Give them incentives as much as you can. It really should be worked into your business budget to be quarterly. But if that's not something that you can do quarterly just yet, try to see where you can fit it in so that you can go ahead and get those drivers the things that they need and deserve. Now, another thing when it comes to hiring, you have to look at the volume of your business. How many drivers do you need? How many vehicles do you have? And do you have enough money to pay all of these people at the time that you're bringing them on? That matters, because you need to have a little cushion for payroll. Payroll is going to be one of your most biggest expenses when it comes to business budget. So you want to make sure that you're not going below that threshold that you set for your company in terms of what is your payroll budget, right? So when it comes to bringing people on, look at the volume that your company is bringing in on a daily basis. What is your average intake on a day-to-day basis in terms of cash flow that you're getting? How frequently are you getting this cash flow? Are you getting it right away, where if you have payroll in a week or 2 weeks, if you determine to pay your team weekly or bi-weekly, whatever you choose, how fast are you recouping that money from your contracts or from your private pay contract facilities? That is very important, because if you have a bi-weekly payroll, but yet you're not getting paid until 45 days later, where is your cushion to pay your team? Can you afford to pay 5 people, 6 people, 7 people? Do you have enough vehicles for 5, 6, 7 people? What do you need for your company to sustain? Those are 2 major factors to think of as well when it comes to bringing people on and hiring your drivers. Okay, so we have reached the end of our video, right? But I want to do a little recap of all the things that we went over, because we covered a lot. We touched on how to pick a driver in terms of what background experience are you looking for. You want to make sure that, like I said, they had customer service experience. They care about the clients. They may be a Lyft driver, an Uber driver, a senior citizen, a retiree, a former EMT worker. Those are the types of applicants that you want to go after with that type of background. We also talked about how to choose the pay rate for your drivers. Cold call the companies that are close by to you. Do your market research online to see what are these jobs offering on Indeed. Most jobs right now are posting, along with their job ad, how much they're paying on their job ad. So it's easy to find out. We touched on the requirements that you should add into your job listing in terms of the age range, the clean driving record, the clean criminal record, the ability to pass a drug screening. All of those things are important as well. We spoke on the cons in terms of how you can pick the wrong driver. It can cost you money. It can frustrate your other drivers when they have to have their schedules overlapping with someone else's workload. It's wasting you time, it's wasting you money, because you have to train these people and you think that you have the day-to-day set up with having this person on the team, and they don't show, right? So you want to make sure that you're not hiring someone who's negligent. We spoke on the pros: your business's reputation, your client retention, your positive cash flow, the retention of your drivers. That is important as well. And finally, we talked on the incentives, how to keep your drivers on, and not over hiring, making sure you're bringing on as many people as you need and not overdoing it at one time. So I really hope that you all learned something from this video today. I think the next video is going to be the actual onboarding process that we do here, in terms of once we hire the drivers, how do we actually bring them on, get them loaded into the softwares and things of that sort. So stay tuned. We'll be back soon. Bye.